Your brain is not bored. AI is stealing your dopamine. You're not bored. Your brain is overstimulated. AI-optimized feeds are hijacking your dopamine, lowering your motivation while keeping you scrolling for the next micro-hit. The feeling you call nothing's interesting is actually a reward system stuck on low. In this documentary, I'll show you how the circuitry works, the subtle manipulation patterns to watch for, and how to reclaim your attention in 7 days. You'll learn the dopamine flaw, the March 3rd, 30 reset, and a craving interrupt that never fails. There's a hidden variable apps tweak without telling you, and one metric that predicts relapse. Let's start with why your fixes don't work. Why your boredom isn't boredom. If you've said, "I'm bored," while surrounded by more entertainment than any human in history, you're not bored. You're experiencing an overstimulation hangover. Let me back up and name the 3 states people confuse: boredom, anhedonia, and overstimulation. True boredom is when nothing in your environment maps to your goals, so your brain nudges you to explore. Anhedonia is different. The capacity to feel pleasure is dampened. Overstimulation is another thing. You've binged novelty so long that your system downshifts baseline motivation. The result feels like boredom, but the cause isn't a lack of input, it's too much. Here's the thing most people miss. Your dopamine system cares less about absolute pleasure and more about contrast and prediction. Think of the dopamine flaw, your baseline level of motivation and interest. Short, frequent spikes from algorithmic novelty push the peak higher for a moment, but the floor slowly drops. When the floor drops, ordinary life feels flat. It's not that walking, reading, or cooking became worse. Your comparison lens shifted. If you remember nothing else, remember this. Frequent high-contrast novelty lowers your baseline. Why do you keep scrolling even when you're not enjoying it? Reward prediction error. Your brain releases dopamine not just when you get a reward, but when a reward is better than expected. Infinite feeds engineer almost. Almost the shocking story. Almost the perfect tip. Almost the laugh. That gap, better than expected hovering just out of reach, keeps the system firing. It's a casino mechanic embedded in your palm. Now here's where most people mess up. They chase salience, not meaning. Salience is what grabs attention. Meaning is what satisfies. Outrage, novelty, and rapid cuts spike salience without delivering durable reward. Your attention surges, but your satisfaction doesn't rise with it. That mismatch is the salience trap. You feel tugged to look, but afterward, the dopamine floor is a notch lower. Do that for an hour, and the rest of your day feels grey. Contrast this with true rest. Low stimulus states, like a quiet walk, a physical hobby, or reading a slow chapter, don't deliver fireworks. They restore the floor. Your nervous system recalibrates when inputs are gentle and coherent. Doom scrolling masquerades as rest because your body is still, but the cognitive load is high. Constant appraisal, micro-decisions, emotional whiplash. That's not recovery, it's subtle strain. This clicked for me when I noticed the difference between a quiet evening with a show plus second screen browsing and a genuinely quiet evening with one analog activity. The first felt busy but empty. The second felt simple but nourishing. Same time spent, opposite impact on the floor. Let me show you exactly how craving fits in. Craving isn't pleasure. It's tension asking for closure. We confuse the relief of ending tension with enjoyment. You scroll, you get a tiny resolution, the tension drops, and your brain marks it as good. But the underlying reward is weak, so the tension rebuilds fast. That's why the itch returns minutes later. If you treat that itch as proof you want it, you stay stuck. If you treat it as proof your system is sensitized, you start to get leverage. Before we continue, you need to understand why your current fixes keep failing. Most people try 2 moves: white-knuckle willpower or a weekend detox. Willpower assumes you can outmuscle trained cues and variable rewards. You might for a day, but cues beat intentions when your baseline is low. A detox often backfires through deprivation rebound. You drop to 0 input, your floor rises a hair, then you return to the old environment, and the pendulum swings harder. The lesson your brain learns is, after deprivation comes a feast, and the cycle tightens. The reason this works like a trap is context memory. Your brain binds cues, places, times, device states to routines. Your couch plus your phone at 11 p.m. is a loaded context. Even if you intend to read, the cue stack pulls you back to the feed. So when you say, "I'll just be disciplined," you're pitting a tired prefrontal cortex against a rehearsed loop that's been reinforced hundreds of times. Tired brains default to easy dopamine. Another layer most folks ignore is contrast. If you jump from algorithmic, high-flash content to healthy content, but keep the same rapid novelty pattern, your floor doesn't move. Educational shorts can still be overstimulation if you stack them. Productive content, same mechanics. That's why swapping one feed for another feels virtuous, but results in the same flatness later. Let's ground this with a simple mental model: spikes and floor. Every spike costs you a tiny bit of baseline. Individually, it's negligible. Aggregated across a day, you've borrowed tomorrow's motivation. Then tomorrow feels boring, so you seek another spike to feel anything at all. That's the anti-reward loop. More stimulation, less satisfaction. A quick win you can try today. For the next hour, do one task with no additional inputs. No music, no podcast, no toggling. Just the task. Your brain will protest with a restless itch around minute 6 to 12. That itch is the floor rising and your system recalibrating. Ride it for 5 minutes. Most people find that by minute 15, attention gets heavier and more stable. That's baseline recovery in real time. Now, a common mistake story. Last week, someone told me they cut out social media, but replaced it with rapid-fire news refreshes and crypto tickers. They felt productive, but their evenings were still numb. They swapped content, not cadence. The thing they finally changed was stimulus stacking. No second screens during any single activity. Within 3 days, their morning interest in routine tasks returned. The content type mattered less than the pace. Here's the shortcut nobody teaches. Label the state honestly. Don't say I'm bored. Say, my dopamine floor is low from overstimulation. That reframe immediately changes the solution set. Instead of hunting for a more exciting input, you pick a restorative input. Instead of blaming yourself for laziness, you treat it like jet lag and plan a reset window. Okay, so the tricky part is timing. Right after a high-stim session, low-stim activities feel awful. That's not a verdict on the activity. It's a withdrawal-like contrast effect. Expect it. Put a short bridge between worlds. 2 minutes of breath, a glass of water, a brief walk. Then start the low-stim task. You're easing the shift so your system can accept it. This next part separates beginners from pros. Measure recovery by baseline markers, not by how hyped you feel. Markers include easier task initiation, less tab hopping, and less urgency to check. If those improve, your floor is rising even if there's no fireworks. Once you nail that, everything else clicks. You see the pattern. Mislabeling the state leads to wrong interventions. If the problem is an overstimulation hangover, willpower alone is the wrong tool. And a detox without design just swings the pendulum. In the next section, we'll break down why willpower and digital detox fail, and the method that works: swap first, subtract later. Why willpower and digital detox fail, and what works instead. Most people try 2 fixes: grip harder or disappear for a weekend. Both feel logical, and both usually fail. Let's start with willpower. You're asking the prefrontal cortex, which tires quickly, to fight a habit loop stored in the striatum that's been rehearsed hundreds of times with variable rewards. Tired brains default to easy dopamine. After a long day, your intention loses to the cue routine reward circuit that runs on autopilot. That's not a character flaw, it's how the system is wired. Now the detox move. You delete apps, go cold turkey, and feel clean for 48 hours. Then you come back, and the pendulum swings. That's deprivation rebound. The brain encodes a pattern. After famine comes feast. So the first night back, you binge harder than before. Strict bans make the behavior context dependent instead of transformed. You're good in the retreat container and right back in the loop in your normal environment. The lesson your brain learns is timing, not freedom. There's another reason detox fails: context memory. Your brain binds used to cues: time of day, place, position, even device posture. Couch at 11 p.m. plus phone angle equals scroll mode. Change is fragile when the old cues remain. Intentions get swamped by familiar entry ramps. That's why you swear you'll read, pick up the phone, just to check, and wake up 40 minutes later in the feed. The entry friction was near zero. The loop took over. And let's talk reinforcement schedules. Infinite scroll uses variable ratio reinforcement. The same schedule that makes slot machines sticky. You don't know which swipe pays off, so your brain treats the next swipe as the one. Add streaks, loot box mechanics, and surprise badges, and you've got layers of intermittent rewards stacking together. Willpower doesn't beat a casino built into your thumb. Then there's choice overload. When everything is available, you must decide constantly. Micro decisions drain executive energy. By evening, your cognitive budget is shot, and the default becomes whichever choice needs the least energy. Open the app, swipe, let the algorithm decide. Exhaustion masquerades as preference. So what works instead? Swap first, subtract later. Replace the behavior with a lower stim alternative that meets the same need. Then remove the high stim option once the replacement has roots. It's easier to shift a river than dam it. If you scroll to decompress, your replacement might be a low stim decompression, 10-minute walk without audio, a page of journaling, stretching with a timer. If you scroll to avoid a task, the replacement is a micro chunk of that task. Set a 2-minute timer and write the first ugly sentence. Meet the function, change the form. The game changer is designing friction at the entry, not during use. Most people add friction midstream, timers that pop up while you're already hooked. Too late. Put effort before the loop starts. Log out. Move the apps off your home screen. Turn your phone grayscale. Require a passcode to install apps. Use delayed notifications. Make the first step harder by 15 seconds, and you'll skip the loop more often than you expect. Reduce the number of times you enter the loop, and you cut reinforcement dramatically. Here's a simple model: gates, grooves, and guardrails. Gates are entry frictions, the locks before the behavior. Grooves are replacements, the easy path you slide into instead. Guardrails are constraints that keep drift in check if you slip. Build all three. For gates, log out, remove biometric unlock for social apps, add a 15-second delay app. For grooves, a list of 3 replacements per use case, ready to tap. For guardrails, app caps with cooldowns, scheduled splurge blocks, and a buddy you text CP when you're in the itch. Speaking of splurge blocks, this is counterintuitive but powerful. Timebox temptation. Schedule a 20 to 30-minute window, a few times a week, to indulge consciously. Why? It prevents the feast-famine dynamic and removes the glamour of forbidden fruit. Knowing you have permission later makes it easier to skip now. Put the splurge after your most important task, not before. You train the brain. Effort first, treat second. You also need device zoning. Create a dopamine device and a deep work device. If you can't dedicate 2 devices, use 2 modes. On your computer, create a separate user profile without entertainment apps. On your phone, use focus modes that hide the feeds during work. In the living room, the phone lives in a box or another floor during focus time. Environments shape behavior more reliably than pep talks. Now, the social layer. Lone wolf plans collapse when stress hits. Set a public commitment. A 1-sentence promise to a friend or a community about your next 7 days. Pair it with an accountability buddy who knows your schedule. You don't need lectures, just a check-in message. Starting March 3rd, 30 at 8 a.m., Splurge Block Friday 6 p.m. We do better when someone expects us to show up. Let me show you exactly how to implement swap first in 3 steps. 1. Identify the trigger function. Is it decompress, avoid, connect, or stimulate? 2. Pick a replacement that matches the function at a lower stimulation level. Decompress? Walk or breath practice. Avoid? 2-minute starter on the avoided task. Connect? Voice note a friend instead of comments. Stimulate? A short, embodied activity. Push-ups, cold water on the face, a quick craft step. 3. Front-load friction on the old behavior. Move apps, add passcodes, and delay notifications. Now here's where most people mess up. They try to remove everything at once. Subtracting without a swap creates a vacuum the brain rushes to fill with something equally spiky. Or they choose replacements that are secretly high-stim, YouTube study with me, that morphs into 20 video tabs. Keep replacements boring but rich. Activities with low novelty, high engagement, and clear stopping points. A quick win you can try today. Create a 2-icon home screen. Top left, your Anchor app, a Notes app with your 3 replacements pinned. Bottom right, a 15-second delay app for social. Everything else lives on page 2. Tonight, when the itch hits, you'll glance at the home screen, and the easiest path will be the replacement, not the feed. Once you nail gates and grooves, add guardrails that learn. App caps with cooldowns beat hard locks because they introduce a pause and decide moment. Example, at 20 minutes, a prompt asks, open in 15 seconds or close? That tiny delay lets your prefrontal cortex re-enter. If you still choose to continue during a scheduled splurge, fine. If not, you've saved your floor. Before we continue, acknowledge this. You won't win every time. That's expected. The measure isn't perfection. It's fewer entries, shorter sessions, and faster recovery. If you slip, apply swap first immediately on the next cycle, not tomorrow. Momentum beats guilt. And in the next section, we'll zoom in on why these platforms feel psychic. How AI learns your cravings and tunes the hooks you can't outmuscle, unless you see them. How AI learns your cravings without you noticing. If you've ever felt like the feed reads your mind, it's not magic, it's measurement. The algorithm watches engagement proxies that reveal more than your likes ever could. Dwell time is the big one. How long you hover before you swipe. Scroll velocity matters too. Fast swipes mean no, micro pauses mean maybe. Even a half-second stall over a video thumbnail becomes a signal. Add hover lag, replays, volume changes, and comment expansions, and the system builds a tight profile of what makes your nervous system twitch. Here's the shortcut nobody teaches. The platform doesn't need your explicit ratings. It learns from micro-behaviors you forget you did. That's why I didn't even click it doesn't protect you. The pause is the click. A 2-second stall over a controversial headline says, "Show me more heat." A replay on a common clip says, "Slow novelty is working." You're training it with tiny tells. Now here's where most people mess up. They think there's one master algorithm. In reality, the feed is a stack of micro A/B tests running in parallel. Thumbnails are tested by color, contrast, and face size. Captions are split by phrasing, emoji, and promise strength. Timing windows get tuned to your local rhythms. Pre-commute, lunch lull, bedtime slump. If the system sees you lean into bright, high-contrast images at night, it will push more of that then, and less at noon. You're not seeing the best, you're seeing the best for your current state. Microtests don't ask for your permission, they ask for your reaction. Did your scroll velocity drop when a red banner popped? Did your dwell time rise with a cliffhanger caption? Did you scrub back 5 seconds when the creator cut faster? The winner gets shown again, then tested against a new challenger. It's evolution running at the speed of your thumb. Before we continue, you need to understand collaborative filtering. The platform clusters you with people like you based on overlapping patterns. Similar dwell times on similar topics at similar times of day. If 10,000 people with your pattern paused on X, you'll see X+. Not just the same topic, an adjacent topic that tends to hook your cluster even harder. That's why your feed can pivot from mild curiosity to a full-blown rabbit hole in an afternoon. The model isn't guessing what you'll like. It's importing the proven addictions of your neighbors. Reinforcement learning closes the loop. When you pause, the system treats it as a reward. Good job, recommendation. That strengthens the policy that chose it, so the next tile looks more like that. When you swipe past, the policy weakens and moves on. Over time, your unique pause fingerprint becomes the teacher. You think you're sampling, you're supervising. The reason this works is emotional tagging. Outrage and novelty carry higher predictive value because they're reliable attention movers. Nuance is harder to forecast and slower to confirm. So models overweight content with sharp emotional edges. Fear, drama, rivalry, scandal. Your body responds. Heart rate ticks up, breath shortens, pupils dilate, and your behavior betrays that arousal. Slower scrolls, more replays, deeper thread reads. The system learns. Spike emotion, earn dwell. Okay, so the tricky part is that this tuning happens at 2 levels, content level and new level. Content level models chase what wins in the population. High contrast, big faces, bold claims. U-level models tune cadence and topic to your current regulation state. If you show signs of fatigue, later night sessions, sloppier swipes, it will lean towards simpler, more sensational hits. If you're crisp and early, you might see longer form, slightly calmer pieces. Either way, the goal is to keep you inside the loop. Here's the exclusive shortcut. Audit your own pause points. For 3 days, carry a tiny note, physical or in a locked notes app. Each time you feel your thumb stall, capture 3 fields. Cue context, content feature, and body tell. Cue context is where and when. Couch 11 p.m., lunch desk, post-argument. Content feature is the hook pattern. Bold red text, creator ranting, before-after transformation, polarizing headline, one weird trick, or breaking. Body tell is the interoception cue. Tight chest, heat in cheeks, forehead buzz, stomach pull. You're mapping your trigger signature. This clicked for one client when they saw that their longest stalls happened on fail compilations, right after tense meetings. The cue wasn't boredom, it was unprocessed tension. The content that worked provided a short, sharp shift, schadenfreude and shock, so the brain marked it as relief. Once they named that pattern, they swapped the slot with a 2-minute breath hold and a slow walk. Same time window, different regulation. Their feed got less spiky because their pauses changed. Now, a common mistake story. Someone tries to curate their feed by liking good content, but they still pause on drama. The algorithm doesn't care about your ideals. It cares about your physiology in the moment. If your eyes widen at the fight clip, you just told it the truth. To change what you see, change what you pause on. Let me show you exactly how to create an anti-hijack loop. 1. Set a pause budget. Give yourself permission to pause intentionally on only 3 pieces per session. Everything else gets a clean swipe. 2. When you catch an involuntary stall, say out loud, "Pause is purchase." That verbal tag wakes up your prefrontal cortex. 3. When a known bait appears, outrage headline, red banner, all caps, simulate speed, deliberately increase scroll velocity past it. You're breaking the reinforcement chain the model depends on. The game changer nobody talks about is priming. If you open the app in a dysregulated state, you'll train it toward escalation. If you open after a 60-second breath practice, you'll train it toward comma picks. 30 seconds of slow exhales before opening reduces the microtells that scream, "Feed me spikes." It's small, but the model is sensitive to small. Another tactic, stagger novelty windows. The system tracks time of day response curves. If you always give it your bedtime exhaustion, it will sculpt to bedtime casino. Move any optional browsing to a daytime slot right after a focus block. You'll pause less, the model will adjust, and nights get quieter. You're not just managing your behavior, you're retraining the recommender. Here's a quick win you can try today. For the next session, screenshot the first 10 tiles you see. After you're done, mark which ones you paused on and why. Tag the hook type and the body tell. Tomorrow, aim to reduce pauses on one hook type by 50% and replace them with a deliberate pause on a comma longer piece. Do that 3 days in a row, and your feed composition will shift. Finally, know this, you can't fully out-muscle a system designed to read your microsignals, but you can become unreadable at the points that matter. Control entry state, control pause points, and you'll control the training data that controls the feed. Next, we'll map the brain systems those triggers exploit, so you can interrupt cravings at the source. The neurocircuitry AI exploits, plain English. Let me make this dead simple. Dopamine isn't your happiness meter. It's your go-do-that signal. It marks what's worth pursuing, not how satisfied you are. When a cue predicts a reward, dopamine rises to push action. When a reward hits as predicted, the signal drops back. When a reward is better than expected, you get a spike that stamps the moment as important. Platforms play with that spike. Under the hood, habits live in the striatum. Think cube routine, reward stamp. Each successful loop thickens the groove. Your phones glow at a certain time. Your thumb position, the micro-boredom of a transition, their cues. Routine is the automatic scroll. Reward is that tiny hit of relief or novelty. The striatum doesn't care if the reward is meaningful. It cares if it's consistent enough to learn. Repeat it enough, and the loop runs before you notice. Now here's where most people mess up. They blame motivation when the real issue is conflict signals. The anterior cingulate cortex, the ACC, monitors conflict and uncertainty. Should I keep working or check the feed? When uncertainty is high and a quick resolution is available, the ACC flags urgency. That's your FOMO surge. Algorithms thrive on that. Cliffhangers, breaking, and partial information increase conflict, so the ACC pushes you to resolve it fast. The prefrontal cortex, the PFC, is your planner and brakes. It holds goals, resists impulses, and manages rules. But it tires. Sleep debt, stress, and decision fatigue drain PFC resources. Tired PFC means weaker top-down control, so you default to easy dopamine, the practiced loops in the striatum. This is why late-night you is less disciplined than morning you. The system didn't fail, it ran as designed. Before we continue, you need to understand memory binding. The hippocampus binds cues to contexts, places, times, body positions, even device states. Sit in your scroll chair, tilt the phone to the familiar angle, and the hippocampus serves the old routine. That's why changing locations or device modes helps. New context, weaker binding, easier behavior change. The insula is the part nobody talks about enough. It tracks interoception, your inner body signals. Craving isn't just a thought. It's a body feeling: chest tightness, jaw tension, a pit in the stomach, a buzz behind the eyes. The insula tags that sensation as significant, often mistaken as, "I want this." Actually, there's unresolved tension. Platforms don't read your thoughts. They provoke and exploit body-level arousal because your behavior follows it. Okay, so the tricky part is the timing between these systems. Cue shows up, hippocampus recognizes the context. Striatum launches the routine. ACC flags resolve uncertainty now. PFC tries to apply brakes. Insula broadcasts a rising itch. If the PFC is fatigued, the loop wins. If the itch gets labeled as desire instead of sensation, the loop wins. The skill is changing labels, changing contexts, and adding friction before the loop ignites. Here's the shortcut nobody teaches. Reduce prediction error volatility. When your input is hypervariable, rapid, unpredictable hits, the system stays in learn fast mode. That keeps dopamine oscillating and attention jumpy. When inputs are steady and low contrast, the system downshifts, the dopamine floor rises, and initiation gets easier. You can feel this after a single 20-minute block of one-task focus. Your next action takes less effort because the system exited casino mode. Let me show you exactly how each brain piece gets tugged by AI. Striatum, variable ratio schedules stamp the loop. Maybe this swipe pays. ACC, unresolved micro cliffhangers juice urgency. Don't miss part 2. PFC, cognitive load and decision density exhaust control. I'll just check once. Hippocampus, repetitive context pairs lock the habit to place and posture. Couch equals scroll. Insula, engineered spikes in arousal. Outrage, novelty, lust, create body signals that feel like desire. Name the moves, and you stop taking them personally. The reason this works is that dopamine is about prediction, not pleasure. If the model keeps you guessing, it keeps you learning, and learning feels urgent. But that urgency is thin. It doesn't convert into satisfaction. Your brain keeps moving because movement was rewarded, not because meaning was delivered. That's the distinction that frees you. Pursue depth for satisfaction, not spikes for motion. Now here's where most people mess up. They try to fight the loop from the inside. Once you're mid-scroll, the striatum is in charge and the PFC is narrating. Better to intervene at the entry. Shift context. Stand up, change rooms, flip the phone face down. Reduce ACC bait. Mute breaking words, hide trend tabs. Offload PFC by pre-deciding. App caps with delays, whitelist during focus, batch check times. And train the insula. Notice the wave and ride it without acting for 60 to 90 seconds. A micro-story to make this concrete. A client kept losing evenings to just 5 minutes. We mapped their loop. 10 p.m., couch, dim lights, upright slouch, phone in right hand, thumb at 45 degrees. ACC spike on must see how it ends. Insula buzz behind the eyes, PFC running on fumes. The change? They moved the couch lamp to the other side, sat cross-legged with a book pre-opened, and put the phone on the far counter on a charger with a 15-second unlock delay. Same house, different hippocampal context, plus entry friction. Within a week, their 5 minutes dropped to 2 scheduled 20-minute checks, and they fell asleep easier. Brain architecture, not heroics. Before we continue, checkpoint summary so it sticks. If you remember nothing else, dopamine drives pursuit, the striatum automates loops, the ACC amplifies uncertainty, the PFC tires and defaults, the hippocampus binds habits to context, and the insula makes craving feel like truth. You don't beat this with grit, you design around it. A quick win you can try tonight. Right before your usual scroll hour, stand up and do 3 slow exhales longer than your inhales. Label the body signal. Tension, not desire. Change posture and lighting. Place your phone behind a minor obstacle. Drawer, different room, or a charger that requires walking. Start a low stim anchor for 5 minutes. Paper page, hand dishwashing, or a floor stretch. You just reduced ACC bait, shifted hippocampal context, calmed the insula, and front-loaded PFC help. Once you nail these interrupts, everything else clicks. You see the hook coming, you feel the body cue, and you change the entry. That's how you raise the floor without quitting life. Next, we'll translate this brain map into a fast baseline recalibration you can run in 3 days. The March 3rd, 30 reset. The March 3rd, 30 reset. A fast baseline recalibration. If your dopamine floor is low, you don't need a retreat. You need a quick recalibration you can run in normal life. That's the March 3rd 30 reset. 3 days, 3 rules, and a single 30-minute anchor each day. The goal isn't abstinence. It's raising baseline motivation by lowering stimulation, just enough for the system to settle. Think of it like taking your brain out of casino mode and back into daylight. Here's why it works. You're not trying to starve dopamine, you're normalizing prediction. For 3 days, you reduce volatility, cap stimulus stacking, and add one boring but rich activity that gently restores the floor. You'll still use tech. You'll still work. You simply remove the infinite, the fractal, and the hypervariable, so your nervous system stops bracing for the next hit. The result is less restlessness, easier task initiation, and fewer compulsive checks. What exactly are the 3 rules? Rule 1. No infinite scroll. Any feed that loads more as you swipe, off for 3 days. If you must access content, open single items via search or direct link, not the feed. Rule 2. Single task windows. Whatever you're doing, do only that. No second screens, no audio on everything, no toggling. Work gets a work window. Breaks get a break window. Rule 3. Stimulus stacking cap. Only one stimulating input at a time. If you're with a person, no phone. If you're walking, no podcast. If you're cooking, no video. 3 days of one-at-a-time inputs calms the ACC's urgency and gives the striatum fewer mixed cues to fuse into a habit. The 30-minute anchor is the heartbeat. Each day, pick one analog, low-novelty activity and do it for a full, uninterrupted half hour. Walking without audio, reading paper pages, journaling, slow cooking, a simple craft, gardening, instrument practice. Anything with tangible progress and a clear stopping point. Boring but rich means the cadence is steady and your senses get coherent input. This isn't punishment, it's nervous system food. Start the anchor before 11 a.m. if you can. Early anchors set the tone for better decisions later. Now, implementation. Before day 1, make a replacement list. For your most common trigger times, morning wake, lunch lull, commute, couch at night, write 2 replacements each, matching the function at lower stimulation. Decompress? Walk or stretch? Stimulate? 2 minutes of cold water on wrists or a short puzzle. Connect? Voice note a friend. Avoidance? Start a 2-minute slice of the dreaded task. Pre-commit them in a note titled, March 3rd 30. Open me first. Next, add friction at entry. Delete or hide infinite scroll apps for 3 days, or log out and require a passcode someone else holds. Move those apps to a folder on page 2 named later. Turn your phone grayscale. Set focus modes that only allow work and essential communication during your main blocks. Delay all non-human notifications by 30 minutes. You're not trying to endure temptation, you're trying to avoid entering the loop. You also need a craving log. Keep it dead simple. Time, context, trigger feel, action taken, and outcome. Example, 12:40 p.m, lunch desk, forehead buzz, stood up and did a microwalk, urge dropped from 7 to 3 in 90 seconds. The log does 2 things. It makes urges concrete, and it shows you they peak and pass. By day 2, people usually see their worst urges hit at predictable times. That predictability is power. Let me show you a sample day. Wake up, no feeds. 2-minute breath, water, then your 30-minute anchor. During work, single task windows. 50 minutes on, 10-minute break. Breaks are screen-free unless you must message a human. Lunch gets its own window. Afternoon, 1 scheduled check-in block for messages. Evening, a walk or stretch, then a low-stim activity. If you want entertainment, choose a single, bounded piece. 1 episode, 1 article opened by search, 1 album. End with 5-minute journaling. Energy score, clarity score, and 1 urge you rode. Now here's where most people mess up. They swap feeds for other spikes, rapid news refreshes, crypto tickers, productivity YouTube, or even educational shorts. Different label, same cadence. Or they over-optimize the reset. Too many rules, complicated trackers, and strict perfection. Over-optimization is just another dopamine game. Keep it boring. Fewer levers, more consistency. Another trap is silent negotiations. I'll just check the comments, not the feed. A comment tab is still a feed. Or, I'll listen to a podcast on my walk. That's stimulus stacking. For 3 days, honor the cap. Let your senses recover. By day 3, you'll notice a subtle shift. Tasks look less heavy, silence is less itchy, and you catch yourself reaching for your phone less often without trying. A microstory. A client who worked in marketing swore they needed trends to survive. We ran March 3rd, 30 midweek. They kept one 20-minute research block per day, by search only, no feeds. They swapped lunch scrolling for a bench sit without audio. Day 1 felt itchy. Day 2, their team noticed they stopped tab hopping in meetings. Day 3, they knocked out a deck in half the usual time. Nothing magical, just a raised floor. Here's a practical sequence if you've got a busy job. Morning, anchor, then 2 deep work windows with focus on. Midday, screen-free lunch and a 5-minute walk. Afternoon, 1 batched communication block. Evening, 1 bounded entertainment choice, then a stillness micro-practice. Sprinkle in 3 CIP reps. The craving interrupt protocol. Whenever urges spike, name it, notice the body, narrow to a neutral action, next step on your agenda. CIP turns urges into training reps. What should you measure in these 3 days? Not perfection. Look for baseline markers. How quickly do you start a task? How many times do you reach for your phone unconsciously? How restless are your breaks? Give yourself a morning and evening energy and clarity score from 1 to 10. By day 3, most people see a 1 to 2 point lift without changing their workload. That's the floor rising. If you stumble, don't restart the entire reset. Use a slip script. Pause. Name the trigger. Switch to replacement. Resume. The win is fewer entries and faster exits, not a flawless streak. Scheduled splurge blocks can sit outside these 3 days if you've already planned them, but keep them bounded and conscious. Set a timer, pick a start and a stop, and do it after effort. A quick win you can try tonight to prep. Create a later folder, drag all infinite scroll apps into it, and move that folder to page 2. Pin a note called Open Me First to your home screen with your replacements. Set a 30-minute focus called Reset for tomorrow morning and tie your 30-minute anchor to it. That's 10 minutes of setup that will save you hours of drift. Once you finish the 3 days, you'll notice 2 choices open up. You can either keep the rules as your weekly baseline, or you can loosen them while keeping the anchor and 1 or 2 frictions. Either way, don't drop the anchor. It's the keystone that keeps the floor from sliding. Next, we'll turn this reset into durable guardrails so the baseline stays high even when life gets loud. Building anti-hijack guardrails, behavior design. You just lifted your baseline with March 3rd, 30. Now we make it stick with guardrails that do the heavy lifting, so you don't have to. Think design, not discipline. The goal is fewer entries into temptation loops, easier defaults toward depth, and quick recovery after slips. We'll build this in layers: environment, friction, time, devices, social, and adaptive rules. Environment beats willpower. Rearrange your space so the easiest action is the good one. Put your phone charger outside the bedroom or across the room, not by the pillow. Keep a book, journal, or sketch pad on the coffee table where the remote used to live. Place a water bottle and walking shoes near the door, so breaks become movement by default. In work zones, remove second screens unless they're essential. 1 glance should cue focus, not scrolling. Now let's add 1 tap friction at the entry. Remember, it's the first 15 seconds that decide whether the loop starts. Log out of high-risk apps and disable biometric login, so you must type a long password. Move social apps to page 2 inside a folder named After Work. Turn on grayscale, except during scheduled creative or photo tasks. Delay notifications by at least 15 minutes. Batch them. Don't let them drip. Hide badges. A red dot is a manufactured urgency spike. Remove it, and your brain stops checking for it. Before we continue, timebox temptation, so you don't create feast-famine whiplash. Schedule splurge blocks, conscious, bounded windows when you're allowed to play. 2 or 3 times a week, 20 to 30 minutes, placed after a completed priority, not before. Set a visible timer. Pick your poison in advance. 1 show, 1 subreddit, 1 game. When the timer ends, end. This keeps your brain from attaching forbidden glamour to the very thing you're trying to right-size. App caps with cooldowns are your friendly breaks. Hard locks trigger rebellion. Soft delays re-engage choice. Use an app limiter that asks for a 10 to 30 second wait before opening during locked hours, and that enforces a brief cooldown, say 15 minutes, after you hit your daily cap. That micro-pause invites your prefrontal cortex back to the wheel. Customize caps by energy state. Lower caps at night when you're fatigued, slightly higher during scheduled splurges. Device zoning changes everything. If possible, separate a dopamine device from a deep work device. Keep entertainment and social on a tablet that doesn't enter your workspace. Strip your laptop's user profile of feeds, auto-login, and autoplay. If you only have one device, use focus modes as virtual devices. Work mode allows only tools and human messages. Home mode hides work apps. Sleep mode silences everything but emergency contacts. Tie modes to time and place, so your hippocampus binds new cues. The game changer nobody talks about is home screen exile. Make a home screen with only 3 tiles: your anchor notes, a calendar, and a timer. Everything else sits in folders on page 2. Put your replacement list, walk, journaling, craft, at top left so your thumb hits it first. That tiny design choice saves you from dozens of accidental entries every week. Let me show you exactly how to combine these into a daily rhythm. Morning. Work focus auto-activates with calendar blocks. Messages batch at the top of each hour. During breaks, your phone shows only the replacement folder and a walk timer. Afternoon. One communication window where notifications flow for 25 minutes, then back to grayscale silence. Evening. A single entertainment window with caps and a 15-second delay. Bedtime. Charger in the hallway, analog alarm, sleep focus on. Now here's where most people mess up. They create friction during use, not at entry. Pop-up timers that scold you at minute 15 are too late. The loop already owns your attention. Front-load the obstacle. Require a passcode to open the app. If you must use a platform for work, create a separate work-only account that follows 0 feeds and accesses content by search, never by home. You're cutting the variable ratio reinforcement at the root. Another common mistake is swapping one spike for another and calling it healthy. Podcast while emailing, YouTube while cooking, short-form learning during breaks. That's stimulus stacking. Guardrails should enforce single-channel inputs. Use a rule of thirds. 1/3 of your breaks are movement, 1/3 are social human, 1/3 are stillness. If you must consume, consume bounded. 1 article, 1 long-form video, 1 playlist, no infinite sources. Social contracts make guardrails real. Make a tiny public promise and an accountability buddy. Your script can be this simple. For 7 days, work focus 9 to 1 and 2 to 5, messages at 55, splurge Wednesday and Saturday 7 p.m, phone charges in hallway. Share it with one person who will ask once a day. Still on plan. If you slip, reply with your slip script. Slipped at 10:40, opened feed. Switching to 2-minute walk, back to task. Accountability isn't shame, it's a mirror. Okay, so the tricky part is matching guardrails to trigger functions. If late night is about decompressing, your guardrail is soothing cues. Warm light, book pre-opened, cozy chair. If midday is about avoidance, your guardrail is a 2-minute starter ritual. Open document, write 1 ugly sentence, set a 10-minute timer. If morning is about stimulation, your guardrail is embodied novelty. Cold water on wrists, a quick stretch, sunlight. Design the first 5 seconds. The brain follows the path you pave. Add a relapse buffer. Expect stress spikes, travel, deadlines, conflict. Pre-plan storm settings. Reduce caps by 50%, add an extra splurge block, extend delays to 30 seconds, and tighten focus modes. Storm settings prevent all or nothing crashes. When the storm passes, toggle back. You're building a system that flexes instead of snaps. A quick win you can do in 10 minutes tonight. 1. Move your charger and set sleep focus. 2. Build the 3-icon home screen with your anchor note pinned. 3. Log out of your top 2 Hijack apps and set a long, annoying password. 4. Schedule 2 splurge blocks on your calendar. 5. Text a friend your plan. That's it. 5 moves, big leverage. Here's a micro-story. A client who managed a remote team said evenings vanished to keeping up. We built zones. Slack only on desktop. Phone on grayscale with notifications batched, and a 25-minute 7 p.m. splurge. We added a hallway charger and a rule. If you unlock after 9:30, you owe a 60-second wall sit. Not punishment, just embodied awareness. Within 2 weeks, they cut their average nightly screen time by 40% and slept an hour earlier. No heroics, guardrails. Before we move on, checkpoint summary so it sticks. Guardrails are scaffolding. Environment shapes choices. Entry friction blocks the loop. Time boxing prevents rebound binges. Cooldown caps restore agency. Device zoning separates identities. And social contracts keep it honest. You'll still feel cravings. Perfect. In the next section, you'll train a body-level interrupt that turns each urge into practice reps. The Craving Interrupt Protocol, CIP. Cravings aren't commands, they're waves. They rise, peak, and pass if you don't feed them. The point of CIP is simple. Delay and redirect just long enough for the brain's urgency systems to settle and your choice systems to come back online. For steps, under 90 seconds, name, notice, narrow, next. You'll practice it like a reflex, so it runs when your prefrontal cortex is tired. First, why this works. Urges are amplified by prediction and proximity. When you label them and widen the gap before acting, the prediction weakens and the loop loses steam. Physiologically, most urges crest within 60 to 90 seconds if you ride them without adding fuel. You're not suppressing, you're surfing. The reward is agency, not repression. Step 1, name. State exactly what triggered the urge in a short sentence. Cue context plus emotion. Couch, 10:30 p.m., restless and annoyed. Or, spreadsheet lagged, felt stuck and tense. Say it quietly or write it. Naming flips you from being inside the urge to observing it. If you remember nothing else, name breaks the spell. Step 2, notice. Shift attention to your body. Where's the urge living? Chest tight, jaw clenched, forehead buzzing? Give it an intensity score from 1 to 10. Now ride the wave. Breathe through the nose, slow exhale longer than inhale, for 6 to 10 breaths. Don't narrate, don't argue. Track the sensation as if you were a scientist, rising, holding, falling. This engages the insula in observation mode instead of action mode. Step 3, narrow. Pick a neutral, 2-minute action that doesn't stimulate or suppress, just moves your state a notch. Options. Stand and do 20 slow calf raises, a micro walk to the nearest door and back. Drink a glass of water, splash cold water on wrists, stretch hamstrings, or tidy 5 items in reach. The key is neutral. No feed, no audio, no rabbit holes. 2 minutes creates a bridge between the urge and your next decision. Step 4, next. Choose the smallest meaningful action on your actual agenda. Not the whole task, just the first bite that moves the needle. 1 ugly sentence. 1 email subject line. Open the document and paste the outline. Click the call link. Set a 3-minute timer if needed. This converts the energy of the urge into progress, which gives your dopamine system a clean, grounded reward. Let me show you exactly how a full CIP sounds in the wild. You feel the itch, thumb heading toward the app. You pause and whisper. Name, late night couch, bored and tense. You scan. Notice, pressure behind eyes, 6/10. You breathe, 6 slow exhales. Narrow, water plus hallway walk. 2 minutes pass. Next, open book already on page, or write 1 line for tomorrow's brief. Total time, about 90 seconds. The urge might still whisper, but the storm passed. Now here's where most people mess up. They debate with the urge. I deserve a break. It's only 5 minutes. I should be stronger. Debate feeds it. Or they pick a neutral step that's actually a dopamine spike. Podcast, inbox, just checking headlines. Or they choose a next that's too big and triggers avoidance again. Keep it tiny. If you need a rule, if it takes more than 3 minutes, it's not a next, it's a plan. A micro-story from last week. Someone messaged that evenings were a lost cause. We installed CIP. First night, for reps, only 1 stuck. Second night, 3 reps, 2 stuck. By night 4, they ran CIP twice and didn't open a feed. They reported the same pattern each time. The body sensation dropped by half within a minute when they rode it. Not willpower, mechanics. Okay, so the tricky part is high-stress spikes. When your nervous system is already hot, the urge will feel like an emergency. Preload a hot CIP. Write a post-it. Name, notice, narrow, next, plus your neutral action. Place it on your phone case. In the moment, you don't think, you read and run the play. Train it during easy urges, so it's available during hard ones. Another upgrade is CIP stacks, matched to trigger functions. If your trigger is decompressing after conflict, your narrow is breath plus slow walk. If your trigger is stimulation seeking mid-afternoon, your narrow is cold water on wrists plus 10 squats. If your trigger is avoidance, your narrow is a 2-minute warm-up. Open the document, write 1 clumsy line, set a 3-minute timer. You're fitting the tool to the job. Here's the shortcut nobody teaches. Pair CIP with a visual cue and a tactile anchor. Visual cue, a lock screen image that says pause is purchase. Tactile anchor, pinch your thumb and forefinger together during notice. Later, that pinch alone will recall the state shift. It's Pavlov, but for calm. Let me give you a 7-day CIP drill, so it sticks. Day 1 and 2. Aim for 3 reps per day, any urge counts. Day 3 and 4. Upgrade the narrow to a consistent 2-minute walk every time. Day 5 and 6. Upgrade the next to a micro-action on your most avoided task. Day 7. Review your craving log, find your top 2 trigger windows, and plan a preemptive CIP. Run the protocol before the usual itch time. You'll feel silly, it works. Common mistakes to avoid. Don't time the wave obsessively, watch it loosely. Don't expect it to vanish to 0. A drop from 0.8 to 0.5 is a win. Don't punish slips. Run CIP on the next urge. Don't overcomplicate next. The smaller, the better. Don't stack stimulation after narrow. Keep it neutral. A quick win you can try within the next hour. Put a sticky note on your device. Name Notice Narrow next. Choose your neutral action and your smallest meaningful task right now. The moment an urge hits, run 1 full rep. If no urge shows up, induce a tiny one. Hold the phone, unlock it, then stop and run CIP. You're wiring the move to the cue. Finally, the reframe that makes this sustainable. Cravings are reps, not failures. Each time you surf instead of swipe, you raise your baseline and teach your brain that urgency is not danger. After a week of consistent CIP, most people report fewer urges, shorter urges, and a surprising feeling, quiet competence. That's your floor rising. Next, we'll rebuild natural dopamine with depth-based rewards so life starts to feel rich again. Rebuilding natural dopamine, depth over drip. Here's the principle that flips the whole game. Depth-based rewards restore satisfaction. Spikes feel exciting, depth feels nourishing. Spikes need more spikes. Depth makes the next action easier. If you remember nothing else, remember this. Choose rich, steady inputs over quick, variable hits. That's how you raise the dopamine floor and make ordinary life feel interesting again. So what does depth look like in daily life? Use a simple formula. 1 hard, 1 human, 1 still, every day. Hard builds competence-driven dopamine. Human gives oxytocin-driven warmth and meaning. Still resets your arousal baseline, so both become easier. You'll feel results within a week because you're feeding the systems that actually stabilize motivation. Let's break down hard. Hard is 25 to 50 minutes on a skill that stretches you just beyond comfort. A language lesson, coding, drawing, instrument practice, strength training with attention to form, or writing. The trick is deliberate difficulty. Not autopilot reps, not chaos level challenge, but the sweet spot where you make small mistakes and correct them. The brain releases dopamine in anticipation of closing that gap. That's progress-based reward, clean fuel that lifts the floor. Here's the shortcut nobody teaches. Define the target and the feedback loop before you start. If you're practicing guitar, it's play this riff at 70 BPM cleanly 3 times. If you're learning a language, it's 10 sentences out loud using past tense. If you're writing, it's 1 ugly paragraph plus 1 clean sentence. Clear goals convert effort into tangible wins your brain can stamp. Wandering practice feels frustrating. Targeted reps feel satisfying. Now the human. 1 undistracted block of connection daily. This can be a 10 to 20 minute conversation with a friend, a focused play session with your kid, a walk with a partner, or a voice note exchange that goes deeper than logistics. Phones away, eyes up. Social media comments don't count. They're salience without substance. Real connection quiets the ACC's urgency and tells your nervous system you're safe. Safety lowers the need for cheap stimulation. Okay, so the tricky part is showing up when you're tired. Use a prompt. 1 honest question. What felt heavy today? What did you learn? What's 1 thing you're proud of? You don't need an hour, you need presence. The difference you'll notice. The itch to check drops right after a human moment, because the body got what it was actually seeking. Stillness is the third leg. 5 to 15 minutes of breath, journaling, or nature with no digital input. Think of it as baseline maintenance. Slow exhales downshift arousal. Journaling gives the PFC a place to organize. Nature supplies coherent, low-frequency stimuli. Wind, leaves, distant sounds that smooth the nervous system. If sitting feels impossible, do moving stillness. Slow, repetitive motions like sweeping, stretching, or washing dishes by hand. Let me show you exactly how to make this stick in a busy schedule. Morning, 25 minutes hard, even if imperfect, right after a 2-minute breath. Afternoon, human, scheduled like a meeting, send a voice note or take a 15-minute walk and talk. Evening, stillness, 10 breaths plus 3 lines of journaling, or a short unplugged walk. That's under an hour total, but the return is a raised floor that saves you hours of drift. Now here's where most people mess up. They chase novelty inside hard. Every session becomes a new tutorial rabbit hole. Resist. Use a constraint. One skill, one protocol for 1 week. You can change next week. This prevents the salience trap and lets your striatum learn a reliable loop. Cue, practice, progress. Satisfaction. The more reliable the loop, the easier initiation becomes. A micro-story. 3 weeks ago, someone told me they felt numb by 3 p.m. We added hard as a 30-minute writing block before email, human as a daily voice note to a friend at lunch, and still as 5 minutes of breath before bed. Day 2 felt clunky. Day 3, they started the writing block without bargaining. Day 5, they reported a weird calm at night. Less compulsion to check. Same workload, new cadence. The floor rose. The reason this works is neuroeconomics. When the brain expects a stable, effort-contingent reward, it invests. Depth signals stability. Spikes signal volatility. By stacking depth signals every day, you teach the system that progress is safe and predictable, so it releases effort more freely. That's why small wins compound faster than big thrills. Let's get tactical with hard. Use the 3x rule. 3 cues, 3 constraints, 3 wins. Cues. Same time, same place, same opening ritual. Open the tool, set a timer, 1 deep breath. Constraints. Single goal, defined feedback, fixed duration. Wins. Write down 3 micro wins at the end. Fixed paragraph hook. Played riff cleanly at 65 BPM. Held squat form. You're feeding the hippocampus with evidence, which makes tomorrow's initiation easier. For human, try the presence list. 5 people who leave you calmer after talking. Rotate them. If you can't meet, send a thoughtful voice note that asks 1 sincere question. Avoid low-quality social grazing. 1 good connection beats 20 pings. You'll feel less FOMO because the real need, belonging, was met directly. For still, pick a minimum viable practice you can't fail. 10 slow breaths with eyes on a distant object. Or the 3-3-3 scan. Name 3 sights, 3 sounds, 3 body sensations. Or journal 3 lines. 1 thing you noticed, 1 thing you felt, 1 thing you'll try tomorrow. Keep it light. The win is showing up, not transcending. Now here's a common mistake story. Someone swaps doom scrolling for productivity stacking. Podcast while emailing, learning video while cooking, audiobooks during every walk. It feels efficient, but keeps arousal high and prevents consolidation. We applied the depth rule. Only 1 channel at a time. Within a week, they said silence felt less itchy and ideas landed more often. That's consolidation returning. Another upgrade is the weekly depth sprint. Pick 1 afternoon for a 90-minute deep block on your hardest skill with 0 input. Pre-brief the people around you. Remove the phone, prep the materials, and set a midpoint stretch. 1 sprint per week can reset your sense of what focus feels like. After a month, track outputs, not hours, and you'll see the compounding. A quick win you can try today. Schedule a 25-minute hard block in the next 2 hours with 1 defined outcome. Text 1 person a real question, and do 5 minutes of breath before bed. That's your starter kit. Tomorrow, repeat it. 7 days builds a groove the striatum can trust. If you remember nothing else, spikes drain, depth fills. 1 hard, 1 human, 1 still daily. Keep the cadence boring but rich, and you'll feel motivation return without forcing it. Next, we'll look at the hidden traps that quietly reset your progress and how to sidestep them before they erase your gains. Hidden traps that reset your progress. You've raised your baseline and started building depth. Now let's talk about the quiet traps that pull you backward without looking like relapse. These aren't the obvious binge nights. These are productive decisions that reconstruct casino mode under a new label. Trap 1. Productive overstimulation. It sounds noble. Podcasts at 2x while emailing, a learning video while cooking, Slack pings open during research. You're stacking inputs that keep your ACC buzzing and your PFC tired. The result? You end the day wired and flat, then reach for easy dopamine at night. Signs you're in this trap. You forget what you learned, you feel restless after rest, and you need noise to start anything. Fix. Enforce single-channel work and breaks. If you're cooking, cook. If you're emailing, email. If you're walking, walk. Use a visible note. 1 channel only. It feels slower. It's actually faster because recall and satisfaction return. Trap 2. Sneaky dopamine. You quit social. But you grazed headlines, checked microdrama threads, and refreshed markets. News cycles and short-form drama deliver variable rewards with moral permission. The brain doesn't care that it's important. It hears volatility. Signs, compulsive refresh, rising tension, and a justification script. I need to stay informed. Fix. Batch news once daily by search, not feeds. Read one long-form piece or a newsletter, then stop. If you must check markets, one scheduled window and a written pre-commit. No intraday peeking. Trap 3. Achievement farming. Streaks, rings, badges, and dashboards feel like progress but replace real outcomes with game mechanics. You close rings and skip the workout that actually builds strength because the numbers already gave you a hit. Or you chase a day count streak and panic after a miss. Signs. You optimize for the metric, not the mission, and feel deflated after a perfect day. Fix. Meaning first metrics. Define one weekly real outcome per domain. Submit draft. Play song end to end. Call mom twice. Track outcomes, not streaks. If you like streaks, cap them at 7 days so breaks don't nuke motivation. Trap 4. All or nothing relapse. You slip, then decide the day is ruined, so you binge. Binary thinking turns a 5-minute detour into a 90-minute spiral. Signs. I already blew it. I'll restart Monday. Or, I need a clean slate. Fix. Slip script. The moment you notice, say, pause. One neutral move. One micro next. You shrink the half-life of the slip. Keep a visible script on your desk. The win is faster recovery, not spotless perfection. Trap 5. Self-tracking obsession. You start with helpful markers, energy, clarity, depth minutes, and end with 5 apps, color-coded spreadsheets, and hourly check-ins. The meta layer becomes the addiction. Signs. You feel anxious if you count log. You spend more time optimizing tools than doing work, and data doesn't change decisions. Fix. Rule of thirds for tracking. Track 3 signals only: morning energy, evening clarity, and depth minutes. Review weekly, not daily. If a metric doesn't change behavior within 2 weeks, kill it. Trap 6. Context drift. You kept the rules, but moved them into old environments. Same couch, same hour, same posture, different apps. The hippocampus still serves the old routine. Signs. You follow the plan, but still slide into scrolls at your danger times. Fix. Context edits. Change lighting, seating, device location, and entry ritual during your risky windows. Put a book pre-opened on the couch, move the charger to the hallway, stand for evening messages. Small context shifts break bindings. Trap 7. Healthy binges. You switch to long form but chain 3 documentaries. You swap soda for energy drinks. Or you jump from gaming to productivity channels, then consume for hours. Same variable cadence, new costume. Signs. Time dilation, amp chatter in your head, and a crash afterward. Fix. Bounded choices. 1 episode, 1 article, 1 playlist. Cue nothing. If you want more, add it to later, not now. Trap 8. Social leakage. You nailed device zoning, then work chat bled into home, or community groups pinged your evenings. It's just one message, turns into an hour of micro-context switching. Signs. You're on call emotionally, you sleep with phone anxiety, and you resent your tools. Fix. Message batching and status norms. Tell your circles your response windows. Use away messages. Batch at 55 each hour or 2 fixed windows. Treat urgent like a fire alarm. Real ones are rare. Trap 9. Novelty creep. At first, your anchor felt rich. Then you added a new tool, followed new creators, or edged back toward high-contrast content for inspiration. The slippery slope is cadence, not topic. Signs. Your anchor time includes tabs. Your craft has 5 open tutorials, and silence gets itchy again. Fix. Constraint cycles. 1 skill, 1 source, 1 protocol per week. Review on Sunday. Change only 1 variable. Trap 10. Sleep sacrifice masquerading as productivity. You borrow from sleep to catch up. Fatigued PFC means weaker breaks and more cravings. Signs. A second wind at midnight, revenge scrolling, or creative bursts that don't yield outcomes. Fix. Reverse budget. Set a non-negotiable sleep window first, then fit work. If you must push late, pre-plan storm settings. Stronger app caps, no feeds, and a hard stop ritual. Warm light, paper page breath. Let me show you exactly how to install anti-trap guardrails with the rule of thirds. For each day, split passive input into thirds. 1/3 movement, walks, chores, stretching. 1/3 human, calls, conversations. 1/3 stillness, breath, reading, journaling. If you overdraw one bucket, underdraw another. This prevents productive overstimulation from dominating. Pair that with slip script printed on your lock screen. Every stumble becomes a rep, a microstory. A designer felt on top of it because they swapped TikTok for design YouTube. 2 weeks later, their evenings were numb again. We ran a cadence audit. 8 educational videos per night, 2 podcasts during the day, inbox open all afternoon. We cut to 1 tutorial per day, single channel breaks, and a weekly 90-minute depth sprint. By week 2, they reported spontaneous starts and less craving at midnight. Same subject, different cadence. Here's a quick diagnostic you can run tonight. Ask 5 questions. Did I stack stimuli today? Did I just check headlines more than once? Did I chase a metric instead of an outcome? Did a slip turn into a spiral? Did I track more than I acted? If you answer yes to 2 or more, pick one fix from this section and apply it tomorrow. Don't overhaul, adjust one variable. The reason these traps are powerful is that they echo the same mechanics we've been unwinding. Variable rewards, high decision density, and context-bound loops. They rebuild volatility, lower the floor, and make depth feel heavy again. Your job isn't to be perfect. It's to notice volatility early and swap it for steadiness. If you remember nothing else, keep input single channel, choose outcomes over optics, and treat slips as signals, not verdicts. Next, we'll measure what actually matters so you can keep your baseline high without turning into a robot. Metrics that matter without becoming a robot. Let's track just enough to guide behavior without turning your life into a spreadsheet. If you remember nothing else, measure signals that change decisions this week, not vanity numbers. 5 simple metrics do the job. Energy and clarity scores, depth minutes, craving frequency and intensity, social satisfaction, and boredom quality. Add 1 monthly dopamine audit to keep drift in check. That's it. No dashboards. A single note or paper card works best. Start with subjective energy and clarity. Each morning, rate energy 1 to 10 and clarity 1 to 10. Do the same at night. Morning energy predicts initiation. Evening clarity predicts how volatile your day was. The point isn't precision, it's pattern. After a week, ask, what raises energy by 1 point? Often it's sleep timing, single-channel mornings, or the 30-minute anchor. What sinks clarity? Usually it's stimulus stacking or late-night feeds. Adjust one variable the next day and watch the score. Now track depth minutes versus total screen time. Depth minutes are minutes spent in focused, bounded single-task work or practice. No toggling, no second screens. Total screen time is easy to obsess over, so don't. Instead, compute a ratio. Depth minutes divided by total screen time. A 0.3 ratio means 30% of your screen use fed real progress. Your goal isn't to hit 1. It's to lift the ratio steadily. When the ratio rises, your dopamine floor follows because more of your attention produces effort-contingent rewards. Craving frequency and intensity come next. Once per day, jot how many urges you noticed and the average intensity, 1 to 10. Don't log every urge. That becomes a job. 1 daily line. Urges, 5 average, 6/10. Pair this with your CIP practice notes if you're running it. Over a week, you'll see windows where cravings cluster. Adjust guardrails there. More entry friction, a preemptive walk, or a stillness micro-practice. When intensity drops before frequency, you're on track. Frequency falls after the system believes urges pass without payoff. Social satisfaction score beats screen time with friends. Each evening, rate your social nourishment 1 to 10 based on real connection. Conversations over comments, calls over likes, presence over pings. If your score stays low, you'll chase digital novelty to fill the gap. Nudge it up by scheduling 1 human block daily, the 1 human we covered. Most people see cravings drop on days when social satisfaction is 7 or higher, regardless of workload. Boredom quality is the sleeper metric. There are 2 kinds, calm rest and restless itch. At the end of the day, label your idle moments. More calm or more restless. Calm boredom feels spacious. Restless boredom feels like a mosquito under the skin. If restlessness dominates, it's a sign of volatility creeping back. Too much variable input, not enough stillness. Add 5 minutes of breath, drop a feed, or enforce single-channel breaks the next day. Track the shift. Your goal is more calm boredom, not zero boredom. Now the monthly dopamine audit keeps your environment honest. Once a month, run a simple test. Add or remove one stimulus and observe for 7 days. Examples: remove autoplay on 2 apps, add a 30-second delay on your top Hijack app, or drop one productive, overstim habit like podcasts during email. Watch energy, clarity, and the depth ratio. If 2 of 3 improve, keep the change. If not, revert. 1 variable per month prevents chaos and builds a system that learns with you. Okay, so the tricky part is staying human while you track. Don't track during the day. Do it at night in under 2 minutes. Use one note titled Signals, with 5 lines you fill daily. AM energy/clarity, PM energy/clarity, depth minutes/total screen, urges and intensity, social satisfaction, boredom quality. On Sundays, skim the week and highlight 1 win and 1 tweak. That's your plan. No graphs, no colors, no guilt. Here's the shortcut nobody teaches. Anchor metrics to decisions. Before you tweak a guardrail, ask, what metric will this change? Example: moving the charger out of the bedroom should raise morning clarity and lower late-night urges. If it doesn't, the friction is misplaced. This keeps you from optimizing vibes and helps you iterate like a scientist with compassion. Let me show you exactly how to use the depth ratio. If your total screen time is 4 hours and depth minutes are 60, your ratio is 0.25. Pick one lever to raise it. Convert 1 hour of grazing into 30 minutes of depth and 30 minutes of truly offline stillness. Next week, aim for 0.3. That's a 20% improvement without chasing arbitrary, less screen goals. As the ratio climbs, you'll notice easier starts and fewer late-night checks because your brain expects effort to pay. Now, a common mistake story. Someone tracked 10 metrics: sleep stages, HRV, steps, pomodoros, app opens, and mood emojis. They felt in control, but kept slipping at night. We cut to 5 signals and a single weekly review. 2 weeks later, their depth ratio rose from 0.18 to 0.32 and evening clarity from 4 to 6. Less tracking, more doing. Simplicity wins because it survives stress. Another pitfall: chasing streaks. If you miss a day, the streak dies, motivation collapses. Solve it with streak ceilings. Cap any streak at 7. On day 8, reset to 1 and celebrate a cycle, not an unbroken chain. You're training consistency without fragility. Pair this with outcome markers weekly. 1 concrete result per domain, so the numbers support meaning. A quick win you can run tonight. Make the signals note. Rate AM/PM energy and clarity retroactively. Estimate today's depth minutes and total screen time. Guess urges and their intensity. Give social satisfaction and boredom quality a number, and write 1 sentence. This week, I'll raise the depth ratio by 0.05 by moving my research block before messages. That single sentence turns tracking into action. The reason these metrics matter is simple. They map to the dopamine floor. Energy and clarity reflect baseline readiness. Depth ratio reflects effort contingent reward. Cravings reflect volatility. Social satisfaction reflects safety, and boredom quality reflects nervous system tone. When they move in the right direction, life feels richer without bigger thrills. If you remember nothing else, track 5 signals, review weekly, adjust 1 variable. Next, we'll tighten everything into a 7-day reclaim plan you can start tomorrow morning. The 7-day reclaim plan. Day is prep. 10 minutes tonight. Move all infinite scroll apps into a later folder on page 2. Log out, grayscale on, focus mode set for work and sleep, and pick your 30-minute anchors for the week. Write your slip script and replacements in a pinned note. Schedule 2 splurge blocks. Text 1 accountability buddy. Running the 7-day reclaim. Check in daily. Day 1 to 2. Run the March 3rd, 30 reset. 3 rules. No infinite scroll, single task windows, stimulus stacking cap. Start both days with your 30-minute boring but rich anchor. Keep a craving log with 5 fields. Time, context, body signal, narrow used, intensity before/after. Expect itch around minutes 6 to 12, ride it. Batch messages in 1 or 2 windows. 1 bounded entertainment choice per night. Day 3 to 4, install guardrails. Create a 3-icon home screen with your anchor note, calendar, and timer. Add app caps with cooldowns and a 15 to 30 second open delay during work and late night. Implement device zoning. Work focus hides feeds. Home focus hides work. Schedule 2 splurge blocks after your biggest task. Share your schedule with your buddy. Start running the craving interrupt protocol on every urge you notice. Name, Notice, narrow, next, under 90 seconds. Day 5, depth and human. Morning, 25 to 50 minutes on your hardest skill, single goal, defined feedback. Midday, one undistracted human block, call, walk, or voice note with one real question. Evening, one bounded entertainment choice. Review your craving log. Highlight your top 2 trigger windows. Add entry friction precisely there. Move the charger, change the seat, or pre-open the book. Day 6, stillness expansion and low stim joy. Extend stillness to 10 to 15 minutes. Breath, nature, or journaling. Build a low stim joy list. 10 options like slow cooking, hand washing dishes, crafting, gardening, instruments, puzzles, stretching. Replace one default grazing window with one of these. Run 2 proactive CIP reps right before your usual itch times. Day 7, the audit. Fill your signals note. AM/PM energy and clarity, depth minutes and total screen time, urge count and intensity, social satisfaction, boredom quality. Compute your depth ratio. Identify one variable to adjust for the next month. Remove autoplay, add a delay, lock one danger window, or move your anchor earlier. Set storm settings for stressful weeks. Celebrate outcomes, not streaks. Write one line on what actually improved. What good feels like by day 7. Easier task starts, fewer unconscious reaches, calmer idle moments, and the itch arriving softer. Keep the anchor, keep one friction, and keep your buddy. Then iterate monthly with a single change. Your boredom is overstimulation. Raise the baseline and motivation returns without force. Run this 7-day reclaim, then tell me what shifted. Energy, depth, cravings, sleep. Subscribe if you want the advanced protocol, and watch the follow-up on rebuilding deep focus with depth sprints and distraction-proof environments. Start tomorrow morning.